morning, Sister Lorraine Réaume.
Good morning, Sister Jody.
I congratulate you for coming out into the snow, into the warm Madden Hall where your office is.
Yes, thank you.
Tell me what your ministry is today.
Well, right now I'm Director of Formation, and for this year only, I'm also Director of Vocations.
Anything else you do on the side?
Well, well, I live in the Formation Discernment House, too. So we have our candidate, Catherine, with us, two professed sisters, Mary Keefe and Kathy Nolan, and we had 3 students from Siena Heights University. One of them graduated, the other 2 are still with us.
Now, some of our viewers may not have been on campus for a while. Tell me where this house is located.
Well, Siena House is right across the street from the Mother House. It's between the 2 parking lots, and if you go down a long, long driveway, about a quarter mile, you get to the house.
And Siena's, what do you call that, activity or athletic center?
Yes, the field house, the sports center, is right on one side, and the baseball diamond's on the other.
Isn't there a chapel in your home there?
Yes, we also have a little chapel with the Blessed Sacrament, and although there's so many of us, we don't quite fit, so we do our regular morning prayer in the living room together.
Do you know that Sister Barb Chenisek and Sister Rita Schultz designed that space for prayer?
Yes, and it's a beautiful space. It's beautiful for your own quiet, private time, and it's lovely contemplative spot.
How many bedrooms are there, Lorraine?
There's 8 bedrooms, so right now we have 2 guest rooms.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm. Well, we better not advertise that.
No, maybe not.
And you hail from, you're one of the few people I know in the congregation that hails from, oh, Canada.
That's right. And those are the only 2 words people usually know, right, of the anthem. Yeah. I was born in Windsor, but we moved to Toronto when I was 7, so I think of Toronto as my home. So.
And have you been there recently?
Yes, I was just there over the holidays visiting my family, which is nice. It's about a 6-hour drive from here.
Do you have a lot of siblings?
I have 2, just one who lives just north of the city, and she's married, and I have a little niece, and then another one who lives in South Carolina.
Well, I'm very interested in knowing how you, is the word migrated to the United States, and when did you meet the Adrian Dominicans along that journey?
Yeah, it was certainly a surprise to me. I'd always considered, being a missionary, even a preacher of some sort, but I'd never thought of being a sister. And then it came to me in prayer, and then I found the Adrian Dominicans through Vision magazine. Oh. And I was 31 the first time I seriously considered it, so I was older. I was a lay missionary at the time, but I hadn't thought of religious life, and then it really hit me. It was one of those, 2x4 moments. So, and then from that, I got introduced to, there were several sisters living in Toronto. And one of them became my mentor, Sarah Fairbanks. She was studying there. And then I moved in with Donna Markham, Rosa Reyes, and Judy Ingle. Oh, so I lived with them as a way to discern. And that was so helpful for me to say, okay, now I know I can take the next step.
Didn't you do some volunteer work before you did the lay missionary work?
Yes, way back. I was about 22, and I had a volunteer experience in the Fiji Islands, which was pretty dramatic. It was the simplest I've ever lived. And actually I grew up Catholic, but my family didn't really practice, but I went to Catholic schools. But then I had kind of drifted away from my faith and believing in God. And actually was there that I had an experience that brought me back to believing in God. Oh, and then from then, the commitment just kept growing and growing.
You were a unique visitor to Fiji. Most people go there, sell their house to go to the Fiji Island. But you'll never forget that.
No, it was very, very simple living, and very much people kind of living the gospel where someone really had 2 coats and gave one away. That very much right palpable in front of you.
And then what drew you to lay ministry? For the same purpose?
I knew I wanted to go overseas again, but by then I knew I wanted to go with a faith perspective because my faith had grown. And I was a Catholic teacher at that point, a Catholic school teacher. I was teaching grade 3, but that yearning to go again was still there. And so I was searching, and I found a group called Scarborough Missions, which is based in Toronto, and they're priest and lay missionaries. And so I realized that was where God was calling me at that time. And after preparation, I went overseas to Bolivia for 2 years. So I had the wonderful blessing of learning Spanish there and being immersed in a very different culture.
Did you live with a Bolivian family?
Yes, a woman and her husband and their child, so who didn't speak English, so that was really helpful. And just and we lived on a barrio marginado, like a neighborhood on the edge of the city. So it was a great way to get in with people who had migrated from the countryside and were just trying to eke out a living.
Tell me about the Scarboroughs. I think of the Beatles right away when Scarborough
Oh, yeah.
there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But do you make some kind of a commitment?
As lay missionaries, you'd make a 3-year commitment. It's very similar to Maryknoll, which a lot of people would know in the U.S. So it was 3-year renewable commitment. And then I was asked to take on the coordinating of the lay mission program. So after I came back from Bolivia, there were 2 of us who coordinated really the vocation and formation work for lay missionaries. So I did that for 4 years, and it was during that time that I realized I had the call to religious life.
Well, who was in charge of formation when you came to Adrian?
Patty Harvat, actually. So that was a great experience. Yeah.
And how did your parents react to your decision? I mean, they had seen you as a volunteer in Fiji and lay ministry in Bolivia, and now the cornfields of Adrian.
Yeah. It took a little while. Neither of them was positive at first. My mom, when she met the Adrian Sisters in Toronto, she felt more positive because she was quite impressed with them. And one moment I shared with you before, and I'll share here, is when she came to visit when I was a candidate, and I said, "Okay, Mom, tell me honestly, what do you think?" And she said, "You're going to be surprised. I feel envy."
Oh, how beautiful.
And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, you get to be around all these smart, competent women."
Oh, my.
Yeah, and so she's now sees it as just such a exciting life and is, proud of me and all the things I've done on this path.
And right away after your initial formation, didn't you stay close by here on?
Yes, my first place, I interviewed at a number of places, but I felt I wanted to be near Adrian again. And I also felt the greatest need was at Siena Heights University. We were asked to consider becoming campus minister. So I worked there for 3 years.
Isn't that what the candidate Catherine is doing now? Is she working?
She's helping out with that as part of her ministry. That's right. And she is an experienced campus minister already. Yeah.
What I really would be interested in, because I think I came to know you when you agreed to or offered to go to Anchorage, Alaska. So please tell me, it seems like your volunteer work prepared you for the work you did there. Can you share what you were involved in there?
Yes, it really is amazing how all the little pieces of our life come together. I was studying at Catholic Theological Union. I was doing graduate studies there after working at Siena. And then there was this call to several of us, or a large group of us, to consider going north. There were several missions. And it was an amazing experience because 36 of us came in, and it was an experience of communal discernment that was very powerful. And I found they said, at the end of the day, if you could see yourself going in the next 12 months, sit in the front row. And I watched myself going up to that front row. And I'm like, Lorraine, what are you doing? But it just seemed right. And we also were forming communities, and 4 of us all felt drawn to go to Anchorage together. And so we did end up going. And what was amazing to me is I knew I had hoped to go back to serving the Hispanic community. And I thought, well, that's not going to happen. But it just ended up that one of the positions they needed filled was to work with the Hispanic community in Anchorage.
Oh, providential.
Oh, it was wonderful. And so I was assigned at Our Lady of Guadalupe Parish, and I did different things, RCIA and that, but my main focus was with the Hispanic community, and there was no one on staff who spoke Spanish, so I was able to, I learned a lot more about writing Spanish, so I helped translate the bulletin into Spanish and could be a support person for all of those who spoke Spanish.
Didn't you have an opportunity to preach also?
Up there I did, yes. The Archbishop, because the pastor didn't speak Spanish, he said I could preach there. So I was able to preach every other weekend. It was absolutely wonderful. And it was such a way to connect with the people, because you convey so much in who you are in preaching. And so people felt, oh, I can talk to her, I can trust her. And so it led to a deeper bond, I think, with the parishioners.
Do you still feel like there's some strings that are still attached to the people in Anchorage?
Oh, definitely, definitely. And I mean, mostly on Facebook. That's how I connect with a lot of people there. And just even, there, I kind of developed a love for Our Lady of Guadalupe. And I didn't have it before, but I think living that experience, the huge celebration every year, she just kind of spoke to my heart as well. So I feel like I was able to be immersed in Mexican culture in Alaska. It was pretty incredible experience.
Is that where you got your hanging of the Our Lady of Guadalupe that you brought to us?
Yes, on the feast this year. Actually, I got that from the ministry after we had finished up our time in Alaska. I was the last one there after I was 6 years there, and then I was discerning where to go and investigating all over. And a number of us wanted to form a community, live together, and live in an area of need. And so, through the grace of God, 5 of us came together in Detroit, and I was assigned I found actually, and was invited to serve at St. Anne de Detroit, right on the edge of Mexican Town.
Oh, how beautiful!
So that was a 85% Hispanic community, and just another wonderful, very different experience, probably much even poorer than some of the people I worked with in Alaska, but wonderful deep faith and just really, really impressive people. And so I was able to continue that ministry with the Hispanic community.
With whom did you live while you were doing this incredible ministry?
In Detroit, it was with Nancy Ann Turner, Ginny King, Jackie Stoll started with us, and Mary Jane Lubinsky, and then she moved on. Emmy Chogi then was with us, and also Justine Kane, a Grand Rapids Dominican.
Oh, is she there now?
She's still there, yeah.
Oh, how beautiful.
Yeah.
And then you got a call.
Yes. then I got a call to look at another ministry and to ask to be considered, take on the position of director of formation. And then they surprised me by saying, and for the first while, vocation as well.
How is that working out for you?
Good. It's very, very busy. But in a way, I'm glad for the both roles in that I'm learning so much about the overall functioning of the department, the advertising, all the different pieces of it. So big learning curve, but a very good experience. I really enjoy walking with women. That's probably what brings me the deepest joy, is that one-on-one journey.
Who are the women right here in the United States that you are mentoring right now?
Well, Catherine Frazier is our candidate, so she's well into her first year as a candidate.
Where does she hail from?
She's from Fort Wayne, Indiana, but most recently was working in Gannon University in Erie, Pennsylvania. So.
And besides Catherine?
We have a unique experience. We have Marlene Yanes, who is returning. She's in the re-entry process. She was with us for 7 years, left for 20, and is now on her way back. And so it's really been a delight to share that journey with her.
She's not here on campus, so where could we pinpoint her?
She's in Joliet, Illinois. She works in Joliet. She lives in Chicago with Jude Van Balen and Eunice Drasba. And she's working as a bilingual school psychologist. So wonderful ministry.
Amazing. Amazing.
And then the other woman who's still in formation is Ziamara, who most people know, and she is a chaplain in Henderson, Nevada, and just doing a wonderful job there. So I was out to visit her in October.
How are you connected with our sisters in the Philippines and their formation, and most recently, our sisters in the Dominican Republic with Sister Rosa Monique
Peña, yes. Yeah, it's kind of exciting. We're getting started in that. So basically how formation is, it's headed in the U.S., but there are 3 formation directors, so myself for the U.S., Rosa Monique in the D.R., and then Rosa Yaya in the Philippines. And so each area does their own enculturated formation, formation that is Adrian and Dominican, but also very much in the local context, because we honor that cultural reality and distinctness. But ideally, you know, everything also is shared here so that we can represent everything that's happening in the congregation. Like I tried to share in the last communique. These are our women in formation across the Philippines, the DR, and here. So,
How beautiful. How is this developing in the Dominican Republic right now?
well, Rosa Monique went down fairly recently, and they've started a new formation house down there, and they've already had several big gatherings of all the sisters there, and you probably know we have a wonderfully active associate group down there, and they've been there. And so we are going, several members of the General Council, Attracta and myself, are going for the official opening and blessing of the house at the end of January.
The end of January.
Yeah, and so we'll see how that goes. We know that there are women who are interested, so that was the motivation for getting a house of formation down there. We know there are women who want to be with us.
I wonder if you've shared this with Sister Ana Felice.
Oh, not yet. No,
She
I
would
should.
probably love that.
That's a great idea.
And
yeah.
maybe take something from her down to the
Oh, what a wonderful
house.
idea. Yes.
She really was responsible for gathering so many women to be an associate with us. Correct?
Yeah, she served as a spiritual mentor to so many people. That's great. I will definitely make a point of seeing her.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, she would be thrilled.
Mhm.
Now, I know in the past you had the privilege of being on a chapter planning committee, and it seems to me it was at the end of
At the end of Janet Capone's time, and it was for the one there Donna was elected,
Okay.
Donna Markham. So
and
it
who
was
was on the committee with you?
Maria Riley and Maureen Fay, Jean Fitzgerald, Peg Albert, Jean Hitzman,
Oh my,
and Carol Elia. Yeah.
beautiful.
So great group of women. I was quite a while ago, so I learned a lot. I was still pretty new then, but it was a great opportunity.
So that was a chapter then that elected Sister Donna Mark.
That's right. Hmm.
And Rosa Monique.
Yes. Judy Rimby, Kathy Nolan,
And
and one other
I
person.
know, Mary Kay.
Mary Kay Homan, that's right.
Yes. And what about, have you been involved in the preparation for our 2016 chapter?
I was on one of those committees that met specifically about inclusiveness, diversity, one of those planning committees on the topic.
Will any of the women in formation be involved during the general chapter days?
Well, they'll be involved helping out. The plan doesn't allow for people who aren't finally professed to be part of it officially, but they'll be serving as supporters. So Marlene Yanis will be spending some time. Catherine Frazier will be here full-time as a runner, and Xiomara Mendez will be helping, and Antoinette from the Philippines will also be here helping.
Oh, well, that'll
Yeah.
be an experience for her.
Yes.
But she's never been here.
No, and I believe 10 women from the Philippines will be present at the chapter, so I'm looking forward to meeting them there. And I didn't mention also I'm going to the Philippines on March 20th to April 4th, so that will help in our connection in terms of formation and meeting all the women.
Is that your first visit to the Philippines?
It is, so I'm very excited to get to know their reality.
Have you met Sister Zenaida?
Oh yes, I've had a few conversations
Yeah.
with Zenaida. Yeah, we're in touch pretty regularly.
Isn't she a dear?
She is, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I love her. Tell me this, as a delegate, I presume,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
What are your hopes for the chapter, the 2016 general chapter of the Adrian Dominican Congregation of the Most Holy Rosary?
One hope I have is that we're really open to the Spirit. I mean, I think we always strive to be, but that the Spirit really jumps in a way we may not be expecting. You know, we have our proposals. We know we've worked so hard to come up with all these ideas. But there could be a surprise. There could be something new, and I hope we're open to that. And that we really kind of commit to who we are in our deepest identity, because I think everything we do comes out of our identity. I was doing the exercise that the General Chapter Planning Committee sent out. You know, they suggested you look at each of the proposals and what is the peril, what is the promise, and that was actually really a helpful activity. I was just doing it last night. and it talked about which one you found the most powerful. And I was really surprised that the one on our spirituality struck me the most, because I realized it brought in women, it brought in justice, it brought in connecting with others, it brought in nonviolence. I hadn't thought that before, but as I prayed with it, I realized something about being deep in our core of Dominican women, and in particular vowed Dominican women, it speaks to all these other areas. So I hope we come to kind of a reclaiming, it's always there, but a reclaiming of that identity so that we can act out of it.
Do you feel like this 15-month preparation has been like toiling the field, and we know something's going to sprout up, but we don't know exactly what seeds were planted? Would that be a good image?
I think so, because in a way we've done all of this, and so the soil's ready. So we don't have to spend time on that, because we've talked about it so much and processed it, and everybody's had input, which is wonderful. So it's like, now let's see what comes from that.
As we continue, first of all, let me thank you for the work and ministry that you're doing for the congregation, Lorraine.
Thanks.
It's brave, and it's beautiful what you are doing for the women and for the Dominican order to begin with. But I really would be interested in what your vision is of the future of vowed religious life.
I think we certainly, we live in that Chinese thing of, may you be blessed to live in interesting times, and I think we're in those. In terms of religious life, I certainly believe in vowed life, or I couldn't be in this position, and I know people are called to it. I do think we're in a huge shift, and I think it will be smaller. And that's okay. I came in knowing that, and women now come in knowing that. And that, there was the historical, the cloistered, then there was the apostolic, doing amazing work in this country and helping immigrants get integrated, educating people. And then many of the people listening have lived through the changes and the shift to another way of being that was really about empowering lay people, and also taking on roles and breaking glass ceilings, doing things that women hadn't done before. So we've done all this wonderful stuff, but I think now we're living into what's next, and we don't know exactly what that is. I think it'll be different. I think it'll be simpler, but it's just like in 1962, people weren't sure what was coming. I think right now we're not sure, but we know there's a role. One thing I always do when I lead people through the history room, and people tend to show, oh, look, in the 40s and 50s, all the women who came, and then you go up to these years, and there's very few. But I always flip back to the very beginning, when there were also very few. And I just think in our faith, it's not about numbers. It's about call and saying yes to the call, whatever the circumstances, and being open to the surprises of God. We don't have to have it figured out. We just need to be willing to say yes.
Now I know why you are the formation director. That's beautiful. In your lifetime, are there any interesting or exciting or unforgettable people you have met through, or people who have crossed your path?
I think there's just so many wonderful people, but I guess I'll name one who was Daniel Esparza. He was the Hispanic community coordinator in Anchorage, and I was still new up there, and still I didn't know Mexican culture that well, and he was like, I used to refer to him as my right hand, and he was my cultural translator, and he's the person that I say, is this appropriate, or what does it mean when someone does this? And so it was like someone right in the culture who could relate, who could explain things to me. We could work together, brainstorm together. And it was just such a blessing that, this Mexican man could help me, and that we could be so collaborative. He was a union organizer, so it was also exciting to learn about that and be involved in some of the justice issues in the city and some of the strikes going on. But just to have someone who could help me integrate and help me come to understand and be with the culture, I really will always be grateful for how he helped me there.
Is there anything as we end here, that you would like to say in Spanish to the people you left behind in Anchorage, and especially this gentleman you just mentioned.
Bueno, que les agradezco mucho porque todo me han dado, por compartir conmigo y caminar conmigo, y que sigo con todos ustedes en mi corazón, que nunca, nunca, nunca voy a olvidarles. Muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jody.
Lorraine.